Hi, Purple Ella here. I just got back from my PIP appeal this morning, and I have been waiting to be able to tell you about the PIP process and my experiences of the PIP process and the issues that I think they are with this benefit in this country at this time. So for those of you that don't know, PIP stands for Personal Independence Payments, and the idea is that they are a non-means tested benefit for disabled people to be able to support the aspects of their life where they might need extra help in order to become more independent. So, I had been on the old system, which was DLA, Disability Living Allowance, which was basically the same thing, but then they changed it about 5 or 6 years ago over to PIP, and they've been gradually changing people who are on the old system of DLA over to PIP during that time. So I kind of had a period of time in which I knew that at some point I was going to get the letter and it was going to be super stressful, and boy, I wasn't wrong. You'll have to excuse me if the light is a little bit weird or the sound is a little bit weird in this video, because it is absolutely chucking it down outside and thundering and the light keeps changing, but I wanted to go ahead and film anyway, so I hope that that's not going to be too much of a problem for you noise-wise. So basically, I got the letter informing me that my DLA would be being changed to PIP around February last year. So I filled out the forms as honestly as I could, and I like to be honest. And I like to kind of be positive, and so maybe I was a little bit overly positive. They say that you should fill out these forms as if you're on your very worst day, but I basically just tried to kind of honestly describe the ways in which my disabilities affect me and the kinds of support that I need because of that. Sent in the form and waited for a date to go and have an actual assessment, because I knew that they would probably do that, having not seen me for quite some time. The date came through for me to be seen in April, and this is where it all got very weird. Up until this experience that I have had with my PIP situation, I genuinely believed that the system was not corrupt in any way. Now that I have spent a full year from that point where I lost my PIP to my PIP assessment today, with no money, no additional support, whilst going through some fairly significant increases in my disability and having to really worry about money alongside that, because I'm still needing to pay for the support that I need, have been incredibly stressful. And the circumstances that led to my PIP being taken away is deeply upsetting. So basically, I had an assessment with a PIP assessor who I later found out was a paramedic in a previous life and had become a PIP assessor. So their level of medical qualification was that they had been a paramedic, which is indeed a medical professional, but I wouldn't say someone who's more qualified to comment on my autism or my hypermobile spectrum disorder or my ME than the specialists who diagnose and support me with those issues. Putting that to one side, the fact that it seems a little bit odd that we're getting assessed by people who are less specialist than the people that have diagnosed us in the first place, putting that to one side, I still went in there optimistic that if I told the truth, I would receive an appropriate amount of PIP. And boy, was I wrong. So Mr. Purple took me, drove me there, supported me, because it's not something that I could have managed on my own. And at the time I was walking reasonably well, so I walked into the assessment and I sat down and I answered this guy's questions as honestly as I possibly could. He asked me about things like daily living. Could I cook for myself? Could I wash? Could I navigate a route? What kinds of difficulties does my autism present me with? And I answered really honestly. I told them about the difficulties that I have with cooking. I told about the difficulties that I have with fatigue. I talked about the difficulties I have with making phone calls and dealing with people in real life and navigating routes and all the things that I don't really need to get into now that I struggle with in my day-to-day life, which I believe makes me eligible for PIP. And he seemed like a really lovely guy, and he was really friendly, which I've later kind of come to realise was part of the sort of trap in a way, in that, as you know, because you watch my videos, I am a fairly articulate person and I mask my autism sometimes fairly successfully. And I'm friendly and I'm outgoing, and so I was chatty, I guess, and I was friendly because he was friendly. And after we left, my husband said, "Oh, I think you were probably too chatty." And I was like, "Don't be ridiculous, the system is fair, we just have to tell the truth." And I told the truth and it'll all be fine. Boy, was I wrong. I may keep saying that sentence because it's totally true. So basically, I received a letter which breaks my heart to think that other disabled people received this letter, because it was appalling. It basically said that, I'll start in order of less appallingness before I reach the outright lies. So it basically said that the fact that I have a degree in contemporary dance demonstrates that I don't have any physical disabilities. Now, I am 40 and I did my degree in contemporary dance between the ages of 18 and 20. So I don't really understand how the government doesn't understand that you can be someone who was a dancer or a circus artist and then you can get a chronic illness, or a chronic illness can become worse. That means that your mobility levels have changed. And to be able to cite the fact that I had got a degree in contemporary dance, demonstrating that 20 years later I couldn't possibly be in any way compromised on a motility front, is absolutely absurd. So basically, if you've ever done anything that involved being physical, that means you are never, ever, ever going to be disabled in any way physically. I mean, what? Like what? It then went on to say that because I can drive a car, that means that I don't have any physical disabilities. I mean, again, what? So you guys out there, those of you who have physical disabilities, I presume none of you can drive a car. I mean, in fact, if none of you can drive a car, like, how are the disabled people in the world getting around? Like, because driving a car apparently means you don't have physical disabilities. I kid you not, this is what the letter told me. It then went on to say that I didn't have, because I was chatty and outgoing, I didn't have any social communication needs. So let's just put to one side my autism diagnosis, because that doesn't prove any social communication needs. No, the fact that I can go in and for 20 minutes mask my autism and explain my situation means that I don't have any, not a one, not a single, no, nada, communication difficulties. I mean, what? And then the outright lie that they had conducted a musculoskeletal exam, the results of which have been normal. So they said that they did a musculoskeletal exam on me and the results of that were normal, which is really, really weird because they absolutely did not do any kind of exam. I walked into the room, I sat on a chair, I answered the questions and I walked out again. There was no musculoskeletal exam. They just lied. They lied. And this is so shocking to me because maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm an optimist, but I didn't think that the government were allowed to just lie about stuff. To me, that's just completely corrupt. So, they lied. But the wording of the letter was probably what was most distressing. I mean, put that and the fact that I was now going to really struggle financially to pay for my support. The wording of the letter was basically, we don't believe you have problems with... You said you had problems with this. We don't believe you do because of this stupid reason. You said you had problems with this. We don't believe you do because of this stupid reason. And they were like, more and more of that. And then at the bottom, so unfortunately, we will not be offering you any support at this time. Now, as a disabled person, when I read that letter, it made me cry because it felt like the government was saying, so all the stuff that you told us just isn't true. We have decided it's not true based on this set of really weird reasons. And so we're not going to support you. End of. Which made me feel, it's going to sound funny, but it made me feel kind of rejected. It made me feel kind of unsupported. But I didn't panic. We did the mandatory reconsideration in which we sent them lots of information about how autism presents in women and lots of information about the difficulties that I have and how I definitely have those difficulties. And we mentioned the fact that they'd lied about the musculoskeletal exam. We sent a whole bunch, and when I say we, I didn't do any of this because I am disabled and I find these things really difficult, and to be honest, if I'd been involved in this process from this point in, I'd have probably had a complete breakdown. So, Mr. Purple kindly took the whole thing off my hands because it's not something that I can do because I'm disabled, even with pretend musculoskeletal exams and the fact that I did a contemporary dance degree 20 years ago. So he did the mandatory reconsideration and he sent absolutely masses of evidence for the stuff that we had said I was having problems with off, and they came back and they said, no, sorry, no, it doesn't make any difference, we're not giving you PIP. Not deterred by this, Mr. Purple sent off all the stuff that we need in order to apply for an appeal, a tribunal, I'm not entirely sure what it's called, basically whereby you go to court and you meet with an independent panel of specialists who make a decision about whether you should in fact be awarded PIP. So we sent all the information off for that. Probably by this point we were in about September, October. November last year. So bear in mind the thing was turned down in April and we'd gotten to the autumn and I'd actually gotten worse and was spending a lot of my time in bed at this point. So it really seemed completely ludicrous. And we sent off the stuff for an appeal. Not 3 months later, maybe, we got a phone call from PIP saying, oh, actually, we're going to award you a bunch more points, which means that you can get lower rate mobility. And we could give you lower rate mobility right now if you want us to. And then you could just drop that silly old appeal. Ha! Yes, that's what they did. So at first we were like, yeah, we should take the money, any money we have to pay for sport, and we're really struggling to pay for it, let's just take the money. And then I went online and I spoke to some people and I had a little look, and basically it seems like what tends to happen when somebody goes to appeal a PIP decision, PIP do tend to then offer them something, a little please leave us alone and don't go to court, kind of an offer. So they did that, and we said, well, we kind of think we're entitled to more, so no. With like absolute fear, like if they've offered us something and we could end up with nothing, is this really the right thing to do? Because I am disabled and I do need this support. So then we waited and we waited. So I'd say the appeal stuff went in at the absolute latest November. It's a little bit of a hazy time because, you know, I'm disabled, and so sometimes when I'm really struggling, I'm not paying that much attention to exactly what's going on and exactly what month it is, but I'm going to guess it was November. We finally got an appeal date for May, about 6 weeks ago. So I am now over a full year from when the initial PIP was turned down, having struggled through a year of paying for my own support, and really, I'm not exaggerating when I say it has been a struggle. As you can imagine, the life of a disabled YouTuber with a relatively small following is not one of huge earnings. I make a little bit of money when I go out and do my talks, but I'm really not making very much money from what I do, so it was all a bit of a struggle. So today we went to the PIP appeal, which was just hideous. You have to go into a courthouse and you have to, you know, deal with people, the whole thing, as an autistic woman having to go in there and feeling like now I can't trust these people because they've lied. So I feel like whatever I say is going to be misinterpreted, or they're just going to lie again, feeling just like I don't even know how to handle this, because I absolutely didn't want to exaggerate or lie about my condition in order to try and convince them that I needed this PIP, because I'm just not like that, and I just wouldn't feel confident. I don't want to be a benefit cheat. I literally just want the money that I need to pay for the support that I need to be as independent as I possibly can be, which doesn't feel unreasonable. So, the good news. I went in today and they asked me a lot of questions. There was a doctor and a disability specialist, someone else, I'm not sure who they were, just typing they were, I'm not sure who they were typing, and the noise of the typing was kind of an issue for me, and a judge. And we sit in front of them and they ask us a whole bunch of questions, and I try not to mask, and I try to do what instinctively my autistic self wants to do, which is be really anxious and look really anxious and be quite stressed about the whole thing, because that's how I feel. And yeah, I told them exactly what my situation is, exactly how much I struggle, exactly the areas in which I struggle, exactly the areas in which my autism affects me, exactly the areas in which my chronic illness affects me. I even went as far as to say, look, these are the ways my autism affects me, and because I am articulate and talking to you now, and because I don't have a comorbid learning difficulty or developmental delay or speech delay, you're going to think that my autism doesn't affect me, but it does, and here's the ways that it did. And by this point I was weeping, I wept quite a lot, it was all quite stressful. We were probably in there about half an hour, maybe a little bit longer, being asked a whole bunch of questions, which have now caused me to feel like quite rubbish, and I'm definitely going to need to rest after I've made this video. And then they sent us out, and then they brought us back in and told us the decision. And the decision was the decision that we wanted. I was awarded the levels of mobility and care that I had anticipated I should be awarded with the needs that I have. And they said that they've awarded me that for 5 years. But they then said that the government, the DWA, whoever it is that deals with PIP, have a right to change their minds about that or to assess that. So even though the court has said that I need this benefit for 5 years, the PIP people could actually go, nah, let's reassess you in a year, which they probably will, because I've heard of lots of people in similar situations who've had this award and then had it all taken away again a year later. So it doesn't even feel like secure. It doesn't even feel like I can go, okay, great, now I can relax and enjoy the support that I need for the next 5 years to be able to live an independent life as a disabled person. It doesn't even feel like that. It feels like this very precarious thing. Like, for now, it looks like they're going to give me the money I need for the support that I need. But I could buy that support in, and then they could take it away, and So I really wanted to make this video to talk about what had happened for me with my PIP experience, because I just think it's absolutely outrageous that disabled people are being put under scrutiny by people who aren't experts in their conditions and told that they are exaggerating or lying or wrong about the level of the support that they need, and being made to feel like benefit scroungers just because they're asking for the support that they need. And I think that's really upsetting, and I didn't realise it was quite so bad. And I think particularly the fact that outright lies were told on my assessment form is the particularly disturbing bit, because if they can just lie, like, what chance have you got? And I know that I'm not the only one. I know there are millions of people out there who are having this experience, and someone less strong than me or someone with a less good support network would not have had the strength or the energy to go to appeal, and so they would have just ended up with nothing, basically. And it's for those people that I think the system needs to change. I mean, yes, for me too, because I didn't love the stress that we've just had to go through, but for the people that can't fight, for the people that won't be able to fight, it's wrong. This is so very, very wrong. And it needs to change. And I don't even know how to begin making that change, because, like, it feels like I'm just this tiny person and there's this big system and there's not even a slight chance that I can do anything about it. So I'm making this video so that people know that this is happening, because it's wrong. So thank you for watching. Please share this video. I would like people to know what's happening. I would like people to know that the government are lying on their assessment forms. And I would like some kind of movement for change. And if anyone's got any ideas on how we can possibly fight this, please let me know in the comment box below. See you next week. Bye.